Hey everybody, I had a game I wanted to show you from the white side. I don't play a whole lot of, don't put a whole lot of videos up anyways from the white side here. So I've decided to play a little bit of E4 here, and I'm trying just to work on some different skills here. I face a lot of E4 games, and so I figure I might as well play them a little bit. I'm usually a D4 player. I like to just kind of close up the center, and it just makes me feel safe. So here I played, just uh, the the Giuoco Piano, or however you pronounce it, the quiet game. Um, so bishop trade here. I think this is good for me. And then just knight c3. So I can develop normally. He's got an open file for his rook here, but this e6 pawn is going to be a weakness. It's kind of hard to exploit without a light squared bishop, but it is what it is. It's a pawn weakness to have doubled pawns. I could have played d4 here. Would have been a little bit more ambitious. It would give me a chance to be able to attack that. You can see after d4, e takes, knight takes. Now e6 is under attack, and he's got to make moves to maintain that pawn. So I think that would have made a bit of sense. Although it undoubles his pawns, gives him a nice pawn structure here. He can castle queenside soon. And all is well for black. So d4 would have been alright. d3 is a little passive, but I don't play e4, and so I'm not used to maintaining the center with strong pawns and all that. So I just castled here. Decided to put a pin on his knight here, just to, not really a pin, I guess, but. Okay, so he castles queenside here, and this is when I realized the game was going to get exciting. Usually when you have castling on opposite sides, it turns into a big rush where both sides are pushing on opposite sides to try to attack the enemy's king, and it often means that defense is thrown to the wayside for the sake of pushing the attack, and that's kind of how this game did go. The problem is that I should be pushing on the queen side right now, and my pieces are kind of more aligned for a king side attack, whereas king does not exist. And so well, the game's even, there's no disadvantage here or anything, but he's more prepared to attack on the king side, and I'm less prepared to attack on the queen side. So I thought, in good move or bad, I thought that maybe putting my rooks both on this side and shoving pawns that way might be an effective tactic. So I went ahead with my plan a little bit here. I pulled my bishop back because I wanted to have it pointing at the king side rather than just trading for that knight and giving him the only bishop on the board. I expect to have dark squared weaknesses on my king side soon, and so I didn't want to not have a dark squared bishop, and I certainly didn't want his to be more powerful. This move here is bad for black. He loses a pawn in this exchange. Now I did have to give up the bishop for it. I suppose I could have taken with the knight first and maintained the bishop. But it is what it is. I traded this way, so I've got two knights now pointing at the king side, and then after this pawn push here, I just jumped back to f3. It would have been stronger if I had played it up to f5, even though he can play g6 and kick it out. That lets me take this bishop off the board after queen takes, and now he doesn't have nearly as much pressure on the king side without that bishop. He can still put rooks on the half-open f-file and all that stuff, but this would have been pretty good for me. b4 would have come next, and I would continue to push on the queen side here. Imagine he try and shore this up a little bit. This light squared weakness isn't going to prove to mean anything because I have no way to exploit it without bishops. I can get my knight up here, but after trading knights off, there's really nothing I can do with that light squared advantage. So that line would have been interesting had I played knight to f5. I played back to f3. It was a little passive, but again, here I'm playing e4 where I shouldn't be playing passive, and I'm just kind of out of my element. So I'm working on it. This was no surprise here, moving his rook over to the f-file, and I proceeded with b4. Now his knight hops in here, and now there's tactics he's trying to work on. Nothing's going to come to fruition yet, but he's kind of eyeballing chances to remove pawns here with a knight sacrifice, followed by swinging his queen in, swinging his rook in, and getting big attacks. So I wasn't a big fan of letting that happen. I just went ahead and booted it back out. So you see he lost 2 tempo here. And then I hop my knight in the middle. I could have done a lot better here with b5. And I thought about b5. In fact, I played it a couple moves later. He's got to play a5 here. You can see if he takes, this is real bad for him after a takes b. You can see I've got a mate in 1 if he doesn't get that queen out of the way. And I can just keep shoving here. He certainly doesn't want to take here after I mean, I've got big attacks coming here. He's gonna have to start running his king out of here while I start taking pawns. Knight b5 is strong. Yeah, I've got big attacks here, so b5 would have been good. Instead, I moved my knight to the center here, and he should have just traded knights off here. This would have been a lot better for him. I mean, there's all sorts of tricks here. He can start, big attack. I can't stop him from taking this pawn over here. So that line might have been okay. Instead, he played knight to h5. So now he's trying to squeeze into the king side even more. You can see the pressure's mounting on my king, anyways. Rook's pointing here, bishop's coming, knight's already here, queen's got the diagonal. I have very little in terms of piece activity on the queen side. Okay, so b5 here is what I played. And after this sacrifice, I was actually feeling all right. It wasn't much of a sacrifice, honestly, because he can retake that. B takes a6 would have been real strong. This was the winning move here that I missed. I was nervous about doing this. I was afraid of this move, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, man, there's so much pressure here. But after checking the king, I could queen here if I really wanted to. I like to kind of keep the pressure mounting. You can see, d takes c. Play this queen. It's got to take. I don't know. I haven't looked at these lines a ton. What I ended up playing was b6. I think this was a poor move in hindsight. c6 here. I trade. I haven't alleviated the pressure on my king, and I've managed to kind of stumble into a closed position on the queen side, which isn't real strong for me. So at this point, I realize that I'm actually behind, and that's kind of sad. If I had just played b takes a6 or played b5 early or something, then my attacks would have made better sense. You live and you learn. Okay, so here comes the rooks. I went ahead and put another defense on this pawn here. I'm losing horribly at this point. Queen to h4. I mean, there's nothing I can do to stop all of this pressure. So, I mean, what can you even offer? I mean, this loses right away. Mates are here. I mean, I just kind of have to throw. There's nothing. You can see there's nothing. I'm getting mated here in like 2 or 3 moves. So, he made a mistake here and played queen to g5 check. I could have captured it and just traded queens right there, which would have been probably best for me. Black's still kind of leading here because my pawns are going to fall on the king side, but would have been the most active defense. Instead, I moved my king over to f1 as rook takes, and then I went ahead and took there. So I got to the same position. So now I went ahead and doubled up on that pawn there. I didn't want to lose it. So my game kind of fell apart here. I decided to trade and put pressure on his center pawns. c5 here was okay. His doubled pawns on the king side here is kind of what I was shooting for. I just kind of saw that as a good target to hit. So I figured maybe I'll trade and then come running up the king side and take these pawns. And then I realized, wait a second, his c6 pawn is passed. So his c6 pawn here is passed, and I really neglected to think of that when I initiated this trade. That's majorly to my detriment here. Now I was losing anyways, but I had better opportunities then. So you can see my game's falling apart here. So all he has to do is run this pawn down the board to queen. I can't really do anything about it. C4. So I was hoping he would trade here, and in fact he did, and this gave me a chance to get back in the game. He could have just ran his pawn, and I couldn't have stopped it, and I can't push fast enough, There's nothing I can do. Instead, what happened was he captured here, I captured back, and now I can stop this pawn. He had better. He could have checked me here, and if I take that pawn, then I'm too far away, and he can run this. And if I back off, now he's got 2 pawns passed. He can move slow and kind of make me backpedal. Again, this lets me. So anyways, this kind of stuff's happening. It's really bad. Instead, he just played c3 here. And now I've got a pawn of my own pushing. I'm still way behind. I'm losing. There's really nothing stopping him from winning this game other than his own failure. So, sadly enough for him, happily for me, I was able to scrape a draw out of this. And this is the reason that I'm posting this game, is I want you to think about the concept of one, of never giving up. My opponents have rated 40 or 50 points below me, and so even though I'm losing here, and it could seem like it's more respectful to resign, I might as well at least make him queen first, and at that point, it's reasonable for me to resign. In this case, though, I figured I'm good with king and pawn endgames. I'm losing horribly. Maybe he doesn't know the king and pawn endgames well, though, and I could get a chance. So this game with better king position for me is completely drawn. But because my king's in bad spot here, he can kind of dominate me. So here's a lesson. Let's pretend that the queenside pawns are not on the board. If that was the case, this game is a dead draw, even though he has the extra pawn. And that would be true only with certain pawns. Here's what you always want to do when you're faced with this. If you have the move, you want to back step straight back. And then whichever side he steps to, you want to match him. He'll check you. You step in front of the pawn. He steps in the middle. So we've recycled the position one step forward. Again, step backward. He steps in. And if he checks, step over. And now he's forced to either give up a draw here. Again, assuming these pieces were on the board, this move is a draw. Or to abandon his piece, at which point we're still looking at a draw. Now, the great thing about this position, even with these pawns pushed way up here, is that this is still drawn for me. So I'll tell you first of all what happened. Once he played g2, the game's drawn, because he either has to abandon that pawn or stalemate me. And this is what he did. So he played g3 and the game's over. But let's talk about what could have happened here, because this is instructive. So after the pawn, it looks like he should be able to get to my pawns and then run, his pawns down the board. So here's what happens. I'm actually walking away from this here, and it's kind of silly, but that's the right move here. So I just kind of follow him. As he goes in, I just always stay kind of with him. Now, this position, since he ran in this direction here, is actually winning for me. Watch this. Say he steps in here to try and snatch my pawn. Sure, he can take that one. He can't take this one, though. So if he moves over here, take, and now he can't stop me from queening. So this game's winning for white. Let's find out where he went wrong here. Okay, the place where he went wrong is right here. The correct move would have been king to d6 here, and now I kind of have no way to get in. He can just kind of hover here. I go here now. If you want me to try and and break into the position here, he can just play e7, and no matter what I try and do to get in, I'm never going to get in to get that pawn without having a path in here. So this game would have been drawn. Instead, what he did when he took a step in this way over to c5 is he let me box him in, and now he can't get to the defense of his pawn, and by trying to take my pawn, he ends up losing his own. Let's give him one more chance here. He goes c6, and you can see when I play here, at most he can do this. He can't go back here to defend his pawn, and I'm not letting him cover into here to kind of sneak around. So he has no way to defend at this point. So anyways, the purpose of posting this video again is kind of to remind you to be ever vigilant for stalemate opportunities when you're in king and pawn endgames, because they are often present. So study up on this stuff. I would really encourage you to look up Jeremy Silman's books, because they're terribly instructive when it comes to pawn. Terribly in a good way. They're extremely instructive when it comes to king and pawn. Well, any pawn or any endgames. In particular, look up his what's the name of that book? I think it's just well, anyways, look up Jeremy Silman Endgame and you'll find the book. I forget the name of the book exactly. Yeah, it's a fantastic book. It's a huge resource, and you'll learn a lot for sure. It's kind of broken the endings down by rating level instead of teaching you all of the king and pawn endgames and then all of the rook endgames and things like that. So you can kind of learn the most important concepts for whatever rating level you're at. You'll learn the Lucena position, Philidor position, and some really important rook endgames as well. I'd also encourage you to go back through my channel and look up the bishop and knight endgame videos that I've put together, because you're going to find those instructive as well. I found when learning the bishop and knight versus king endgame, I realized how well you can coordinate those two minor pieces. And so even if you don't think you'll ever come across that position on the board, which may be true, it certainly wouldn't hurt to be prepared for that, so you can take a one game when you've got it. On the other, well, another thought is, anyways, that you can learn to coordinate those pieces really well. So you're going to find your bishop and knight play getting better as you study that. So study your endgames, learn the king and pawn endgames before anything, because those are going to come up the most and they're the most important. And I hope you found this video instructive. And again, I've been posting videos of myself playing poorly. I'm just kind of getting back into playing chess. You know how I am. I take a couple months off and then I jump back in, and my rating kind of hovers, and I'm barely ever crossed that 1600 threshold. I need to push through that. My blitz rating's poor. I kind of play around 1200, 1250 in blitz. So study your endgames. I hope you enjoyed the videos. Please subscribe, rate my video. I guess like is the way you do that now. And keep watching for more.